I'm 19 and my name's Luca. I've always been the quiet one in my family, not shy, just quiet. I learned pretty early on that the less I said, the less attention I drew, and that wasn't always a bad thing when you grow up in a house where everything revolved around your golden child sibling. My sister, Bianca, is 2 years older than me and has this magnetic, spotlight, chasing kind of energy. She's the kind of person who gets praised for showing up, while I had to move mountains just to be acknowledged. I used to think it was all in my head, but over time the patterns were too loud to ignore. Like how, when I got accepted into 3 different universities, my parents told me they didn't want to rush into debt for something uncertain. But when Bianca decided on a gap year in Europe, where she would find herself, or something equally vague, they drained her college fund without blinking and bought her a Eurail pass. Or how, when I landed a summer job to help with bills, my mom said I was finally pulling my weight, while Bianca spent the summer in Mykonos and came home to a surprise welcome party. Still, I never exploded about it. Never made a scene. I let it simmer, deep and quiet, like a pot you forget is on the stove until the water's gone and something's burning. So when my parents sat us down at the beginning of July and announced, we're all going to the airport together next weekend, I felt something shift. I knew exactly what it meant the second the words left my mom's mouth. Bianca was going on another trip, this time to Greece, and I was going to be left behind again, but they were framing it like a family moment, pretending we were all involved, right up until the final gate. We parked at the airport just after sunrise. I had my bag with me, not because I thought I was going anywhere, but because I was told to bring some clothes just in case something comes up at the house. That's how my parents talked to me, like I was some unpaid caretaker, not their son. As we walked through the terminal, I noticed how they barely acknowledged me. My mom kept fixing Bianca's hair, adjusting her sunglasses, fussing like it was prom night. My dad walked ahead with Bianca's duffel bag over his shoulder like a bodyguard. We stopped in front of Gate 4C, the Athens flight. My mom turned and wrapped Bianca in this huge emotional hug. Have the best time in Greece. She whispered, "You earned this trip. You've worked so hard." That stung. Not because of the hug, I didn't want one, but because of the earned. I thought of all the extra shifts I'd worked last summer to help pay for a plumbing repair they blamed on me. The way I stayed up with Dad's tax forms when he couldn't figure them out. I remembered staying behind last Christmas to watch the dog so the rest of the family could fly to Aspen. I wasn't earning points. I was a given, an assumption, a tool. Then my mom turned to me. Someone had to stay behind and be responsible. She said lightly, like it was a compliment. My dad, already halfway turned away, tossed me the house keys without a second glance. "Don't mess anything up," he said. I caught the keys, nodded, and watched as they disappeared into the boarding line. I stood there for a long moment, just watching the backs of their heads fade into the crowd. Then I looked down at the boarding pass tucked deep in my hoodie pocket. Gate 7A, first class, one way. You see, 3 weeks ago, right after they first mentioned the Greece trip, I quietly started planning. I worked some overtime at the tech repair shop, picked up extra weekend gigs, even sold an old guitar I didn't play anymore. I booked my own ticket. Not to Greece, somewhere better. Somewhere none of them had even thought to go. Somewhere that was mine. I kept it to myself. I didn't even tell my best friend. I wanted the moment to feel clean, untouched by outside voices. So, while they were finding their seats and giggling over flight snacks, I wheeled my suitcase 3 terminals over, past security again, and walked toward the gate like I belonged there. Because for the first time in a long time, I did. I belonged somewhere that wasn't in the shadow of someone else's spotlight. As I reached the check-in counter, the flight attendant scanned my passport and smiled. "Welcome aboard, Mr. Reyes." The weight in my chest eased just slightly. I nodded, smiled back, and stepped toward the jet bridge, feeling my phone vibrate with a text I didn't bother checking. I knew who it was from, probably asking if I remembered to water the plants, maybe reminding me to forward the mail. They had no idea, and that's when the second part of my plan started to kick in, because I hadn't just booked a ticket, I'd left a note behind, a simple one. It was sitting on the dining table at home, folded next to the emergency contact list they always left for me like I was some kind of live-in security guard. The note read, "Gone for a while, maybe longer, don't wait up, no drama, no confrontation, just a mirror." Because I wanted them to sit in that silence, to realize, for the first time, that I wasn't there, that I wasn't available. That the person they always assumed would be holding the house together like some invisible foundation was no longer underneath them. I settled into my seatile, plenty of legroom, and exhaled for what felt like the first time in years, and that's when my phone buzzed again and again, then rang. Still, I didn't answer, because they still didn't know where I was going. And that wasn't even the best part. I didn't check my phone until the plane was already in the air. I had my noise canceling headphones on, a warm towel in hand, and a meal menu spread across my lap. When curiosity finally got the better of me, I opened my messages expecting something like, "Did you remember to lock the side door?" or "Turn off the sprinklers after Monday." Instead, I saw 6 missed calls from my mom, 3 from my dad, and a flurry of texts in the family group chat, most of which started passive and spiraled fast. "Mo, Luca, where are you? You didn't say goodbye. Dad, you better be home already. Don't ignore us." "Bianca, wait, why isn't Luca answering? Did he go somewhere? Mo, the keys are missing off the hook. Luca, answer me. Dad, tell me you didn't just leave the airport with our car." And then, just 5 minutes later, "Mo, there's a note." "Luca, what is going on?" I muted the thread and leaned back in my seat. The hum of the cabin around me was a bomb compared to the noise I'd been wading through my whole life. I closed my eyes and pictured them standing in our empty foyer, that folded note staring back at them from the polished wood dining table. I wondered who'd read it first. I imagined the silence, thick and unfamiliar. My parents weren't used to being left out of the loop, especially by me. The plane touched down 12 hours later, and the difference in air alone felt like a whole new chapter. I didn't post anything online. Didn't tag my location, didn't leave a trail. I rented a car, found my Airbnb tucked into the hills, and sat out on a balcony overlooking cliffs that dipped into turquoise water. The kind of place that made you forget how many times you'd been overlooked. The kind of place where the only person who got to define your worth was you. It took 2 days for the real unraveling to begin. It started with a voicemail from Bianca, one I actually listened to just out of morbid curiosity. "Hey, Luca, Mom's freaking out. Dad's pissed. They think you did this to, like, punish them or something. I don't know. I told them you probably just needed a break. But you could have said something kinda messed up that you just took off. They left me a bunch of calls, too, because now I'm stuck dealing with the house stuff, and they're saying I should have stopped you. I don't even know what that means. Call me back." I didn't. By the 5th day, things escalated. I had an email from my dad, which was rare. He only ever emailed me when it was something official. Subject: "Come home, Luca, body. We didn't raise you to be this reckless. You can't just disappear and leave everything on our shoulders. We trusted you to be responsible while we were away. This is not how a mature adult behaves. If you're trying to prove a point, fine, you've made it. Now come home so we can talk like adults." Dad, I stared at it for a long time, and I almost replied. I almost fell back into that default version of myself, the one who apologized just to keep the peace. The one who would have said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to worry you," even if I had. But then I thought about how many times I'd been asked to understand their side, how many times I was expected to be the bigger person, and how little that understanding ever flowed back my way. Instead of responding, I pulled out a postcard from a local shop, scribbled a single sentence across it, and dropped it in the nearest mailbox. "This time, you figure it out." No return address, no hint of location, just those 6 words and the faded picture of a sunlit coastline they'd never seen. By the end of the week, my best friend Alec, one of the only people who actually got me, sent a text: "Bro, you win. They're losing their minds. You coming back anytime soon or?" I texted back, "Not yet, but I might need you to feed my goldfish." "Already did," he replied, followed by, "Also, Bianca posted something weird. You should look." I pulled up her account. It was a filtered photo of her at a cafe in Greece, trying to look breezy and unbothered. But the caption read, "Some people only know how to hurt the people who love them." The comments were filled with emojis, vague encouragements, and a few questions like, "What happened? Is this about your brother?" She was trying to get ahead of the narratives, spin it so that I looked like the selfish one. I didn't comment. I didn't post my own photo in response, but I did take one. A candid shot from my spot on the cliffs. Coffee in hand, the ocean stretching into forever. I didn't upload it, just saved it for me. Because something was shifting, not just in them, but in me, and they had no idea what I had planned next. By the start of the 2nd week, the messages turned from frantic to manipulative. First came the guilt. tripping texts from my mom. The kind she used to send when I didn't immediately reply to her dinner invitations, or when I said no to family outings to focus on school or work. Only this time, they were laced with an urgency she hadn't shown in years. Mo, Luca, this has gone far enough. Your father is under a lot of stress. You're hurting this family. Mo, I didn't think you'd be so cold. We always counted on you. Is this how you repay us? Mo, do you even care how this is affecting your sister? I scrolled past them without responding. I didn't even know how to respond, because the truth is, I did care. I wasn't doing this to be cold or distant. I wasn't running away from my family. I was running toward myself for the first time. I wasn't just a shadow in the corner of someone else's story. I wasn't the responsible one holding everything up so someone else could feel special. I was free, and it felt unfamiliar in the best way. I was staying in a coastal town so quiet you could hear the wind rustle through the olive trees at night. The neighbors didn't know my name. Nobody asked what school I went to, what my sister was doing, or how my parents were. It was a kind of anonymity that made me feel whole. I started waking up without that dull weight in my chest, the one that used to come from being needed without being seen. Each morning, I'd walk to a small family-run cafe overlooking the sea. I'd sip bitter coffee and read actual books, not the emails I used to write for Dad or the bills I used to sort for Mom. I even began journaling, something I hadn't done since middle school, filling pages with quiet reflections, and sometimes the kinds of angry truths I'd never had the courage to say aloud. But as much as I was enjoying the distance, part of me couldn't stop checking in, not directly, but through Alec. We had a deal. He'd keep me updated on anything major back home, and I'd send him food pics and sunrises in return. I trusted him. He knew the whole story. He'd seen it all firsthand, the way my parents brushed me aside at gatherings, the way Bianca always took and took and took, and how they never noticed what that did to me. Alex sent me a photo one afternoon that stopped me cold. It was our front porch, except it wasn't our porch anymore. A for sale sign had been hammered into the grass. Alec, dude, I don't think they expected you to really vanish. They're listing the house. I stared at the image for a long time. Selling the house I'd spent years maintaining while they were off skiing or sightseeing, the house I'd painted last spring, on my own, while Bianca threw a tantrum about her phone service, the house that still had my desk, my books, my childhood photos shoved into drawers like clutter. They were trying to erase the last place I had history in, and I realized something deeper then. This wasn't just about punishing me, it was about reclaiming control. If I was going to act out of character, then they'd rewrite the character. Sell the setting, move on, but I wasn't the same kid who would take that lying down anymore. I FaceTimed Alec for the first time since I left. Yo, he answered, clearly surprised. You good? I'm better than good, I said. But I need a favor. He raised an eyebrow. Say the word. Can you swing by the house again? I need to make sure something's still there. What am I looking for? There's a black lockbox in the attic, hidden behind the insulation on the left side. I stashed it there last year. Sketchy, he joked. What's in it? My insurance, I said, voice calm. Stuff they don't know I took. Copies of stuff I don't think they ever wanted me to find in the first place. Alec whistled. Like, documents, yeah. Bank transfers, college fund logs, property titles. Things that don't add up when you look close enough. The screen went quiet for a beat. You think they hid money from you. No, I said, I know they did. I just never had a reason to do anything about it, until now, and suddenly, everything that had felt like distance turned into leverage. I wasn't just gone. I was finally in control of the narrative. And I had no intention of handing that power back, not when I was this close to showing them what being forgotten really felt like. Alec found the lockbox the next day. He FaceTimed me from the attic, the screen jerking around as he waded through insulation and dust bunnies to the far corner, where I'd wedged it behind the wood beam. I'd hidden it over a year ago, during one of those long, quiet nights where I stayed up sorting old family papers while my parents were on a wine tour in Napa. I remember reading through those documents and feeling something twist in my gut. College fund transfers marked for Bianca, not me. Even though my name had been on the original account, a second savings account was opened in my name untouched, while thousands were funneled into a travel fund used to send Bianca around Europe. Property title, my late grandfather's cabin, sold and transferred without my signature, even though I'd been legally co-owner since I turned 18. I didn't say anything back then. I made copies. I printed them. I backed them up and sealed the physical evidence in that box. Alec held up the stack to the camera. You weren't kidding. I exhaled. Can you scan everything? I'll send you a secure folder. Done. It took me 2 days to go through the files again. This time I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't even angry. I was focused. The betrayal was already accounted for. The documents were just receipts. Proof of something I'd always known but could never prove. It wasn't just favoritism. It was calculated neglect. I sent the files to a friend I'd met through work last summer, Sandra. She was in law school, sharp as a razor, and owed me a favor from the time I'd helped fix her professor's corrupted hard drive at 3:00 a.m. When I told her what I had, she didn't even hesitate. You've got a case, she said. Probably civil, maybe more. They moved money that was legally yours. If your name was on those accounts or properties, and they transferred it without your permission, especially if they forged anything that's fraud. I don't want a court battle, I said. Then what do you want? I paused, reckoning. She was quiet for a moment. Then I've got a better idea. Sandra helped me draft an email. No threats, no yelling. Just a cold, clinical mirror held up to the truth. Every document was attached. Every signature mismatch highlighted. Every date and dollar accounted for. The email went to both of my parents and was CC'd to our family accountant and their lawyer people. They never wanted to see their dirty laundry. The subject line, concerns regarding my name and estate rights, no emotion, just consequences. I sent it at 9:12 a.m. local time. At 9:16 my mom called. I didn't answer. At 9:17 my dad texted, this is unnecessary. Let's talk. At 9:24 Bianca called Alec. Alec texted me. She's freaking out, saying you're trying to ruin the family. I replied, no, just telling the truth. By noon I got an email back from my dad. It was full of half-hearted justifications, how the money had always been meant for Bianca, how they planned to make it up to me eventually, how I'd never expressed interest in those assets. Not once did he deny the transfers. Not once did he apologize. I replied once more, thank you for confirming. I'll consider my next steps. I didn't sue them. I didn't want to be entangled in their lives any longer than I had to be. Instead, I sent everything to the university Bianca had just enrolled in, along with a tip to their financial aid office about undeclared funds and potential fraudulent financial aid applications. The travel fund my parents had created in her name. It hadn't been disclosed, and the university took that seriously. Bianca lost her scholarship by the end of the month. The travel fund was frozen. My parents had to reapply for her visa with new documentation, but their bank accounts were under review for suspicious movement. The house, it didn't sell. Apparently, a lien had been filed on it during one of the property transfers they tried to sneak through in my name. Without my signature clearing it, the title couldn't pass, and I wasn't in a hurry to sign anything. They called again, emailed, pleaded. My mom finally wrote, we made mistakes. Please come home. We miss you. But I didn't miss them. I had a job offer waiting for me in the same country I'd flown to. One of the cafe owners I befriended turned out to be looking for help managing their online business. I had a place to stay, a quiet rhythm to my life, and for once, no weight on my shoulders. I changed my number, closed my social media, left a final letter with Alec to give them if they showed up at his place looking for me. It read, I was never trying to punish you. I was trying to get free. You only noticed once you realized I wasn't holding up the roof anymore. Maybe next time, treat the foundation like it matters before it walks away. Months passed. Then, one rainy afternoon, I got a letter handwritten, no return address. It was from Bianca. She didn't apologize. But she said she finally understood that when the money stopped, when the doors closed, when people stopped making exceptions for her, she finally got a glimpse of what it felt like to be the one left out. I don't expect forgiveness, she wrote, but I do hope that wherever you are, you found something better than what we gave you. Because you deserved better, Luca. You always did. I folded the letter and tucked it away in the back of my journal, not out of sentimentality. Just as a reminder that even the golden child could fall when the lies gave out. I watched the rain slide down the window, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I owed anyone anything. I sipped my coffee, opened my laptop, and got back to work, not for them, for me.